What's one piece of advice for anyone who learns that one of their loved ones has cancer? That's the topic of today's episode of the Freedom Club Podcast.
Welcome to the Freedom Club Podcast, where we discover the fight for freedom, fulfillment, passion, and purpose. Your host is Kurt Mercadante, Gallup certified strengths coach, and agency founder who is dedicated to coaching individuals seeking to level up their life and their businesses. The Freedom Club is about unlocking your talents, turning them into strengths, and crushing your objectives. You can learn more at kurtmercadante.com. Welcome to the Freedom Club.
And this is the Freedom Club Podcast. I'm your host, Kurt Mercadante. I hope you enjoyed yesterday's interview with Helene Rennervik, author of Hoping and Coping, How My Darling Little Son and I Broke Free of Cancer. Today, I feature the second part of that interview, and I ask Helen, what is one piece of advice she would give anyone who learns their loved one has cancer? As I mentioned yesterday, several years ago, Helen learned that her 9-year-old son has cancer. He is surviving. She is surviving. Their family is surviving. But their book is so motivational, so inspirational. It tells the story of how they dealt with the news. They went through so much. Helen's originally from Sweden. She was living in Dubai at the time. She went on an adventure that took her through Germany back to Sweden to find a doctor to help her son. And so without further delay, here is part 2 of my interview with Helen. So parents who get news, whether it's cancer, whether it's something, I mean, there's a whole host of things that could happen out there, right? What's the one thing you would tell a parent who gets news of cancer, some other illness, disease? What's the one thing you would tell them?
Try to distance yourself a little bit. I mean, I know it's really, really hard. You just have to, because you kind of run out of breath. You just have to, calm yourself as good as you can. Take someone else with you. Anyone. Maybe not somebody too close. I was lucky to have my daughter because she went into her professional mode. She was my daughter. She was also Yusuf's older sister, but she went into her professional mode, and I'm so grateful that I had her because she knew me and she made me aware of my influence on Yusuf. That, she told me, Mom, even if you don't say something, Yusuf knows you. He can see you. Because you can be, so you have to be aware of your own feelings, everything around you, because I just said, okay, people can come and visit us here in the hospital, but please do not come and cry, because that would have been overwhelming for Yusuf. Because if people start to cry and they are upset, I mean, kids are maybe more energetically, they can feel even more because we don't have to speak to them. They can feel it. So I told them, I'll meet you downstairs in the lobby. I'll hug you, cry a little bit, and stay there if you need more, because I have to be there for my son. I have to, sometimes he saw me crying, but, imagine him seeing me crying. That would be even harder for him. And many times now afterwards, he has blamed himself for all our changes. Because there's so many things that have happened over the years. And I'm telling him, it is not your fault at all. Don't ever blame yourself for it. Because we think that kids don't know. Of course they know. They know so even more than we do. Because they don't go into, most of the time before kids are locked into their little box, they are more aware. And that's what you have to become aware of yourself and not give up hope. Because I know it's easier said than done, but take some people around you, have them get your anger out maybe if it's, not on me, that's why I said, okay, I'm here for parents, because I do know that we have more or less the same questions. The first thing that comes up is my son or daughter going to die?
Right.
And what do you do with that? I mean, I wrote on Facebook the other day, because that's something that parents don't speak about with their children. For me, I do believe that it's very, very important to speak about it, because that was the thing that Yusuf asked. Will I die?
Yeah. And what did you tell him?
So Salina, she was the one who was speaking to him then, and she said, we don't know, because we don't know, but we are going to do everything, and so are the doctors. They're going to do everything to help you not to die. But before that, we went into telling him about the people in our family, and the ones that he knew that had not died, that had survived cancer. Although he knew that my mother died of cancer, but he didn't really think about it. Now, fast forward to last year when my stepmother died, a lot of things came up for Yusuf then. He was quiet. And that's when you have to be aware that afterwards too, I mean, they have questions. And he said, okay, so am I going to get my cancer back? Am I going to die too? And I said, that's why we are going to the hospital all the time to have checkups, because that's where we were before, now I got back. The 10 years that Yusuf have, that's
Right.
not necessary for everyone. That's for Yusuf. He has to check his lungs, but that, first year it was every month. Now it's every 3 months. Then after 5 years, it will be every 6 months until 10 years. So he will be about 19 years old then. But also he has his leg that has to be lengthened. So that's another thing that goes in.
And it's a partial prosthetic, right? That you says it grows with his leg.
Yeah, so it's like a mechanics inside that actually extends with a machine outside. But that has to, now it's almost lengthened to the full, the max. Maybe next year we have to change that prosthetic.
Okay.
And again, this is something that is quite new, because it's not so common to have that, extendable prosthetic. So, and people say, oh, but do you know that this doctor, well, I rely on this doctor. What am I supposed to do? I rely on that, he has the best of knowledge, and you have to trust. You have to leave your trust in the doctors that you choose. You can't start to change around. Oh, I'll go here and I'll go there. No, you have to trust. And like I said, freedom for me is also to trust, being honest.
Yeah.
And that's what you have to be. You cannot be honest with your child as much as you can, and don't make out lies, and yes, speak about death, because sometimes it happens that the child do die, and if some parents afterwards, then they regret that they didn't speak to the child about death, and maybe for their coping. But I always believe that life goes on after here. So, again, that's your belief. Is it right or wrong? But yes, I do know that, or that's what my belief is, that yes, I will live after this. So it doesn't end here. I'll do my best to be the best mother I can here, the best person, in this world. And so, there have been that Yusuf have lost some people, that, kids that he knew. And that's, again, that's something I have to work with him when he reached there. And, but it's not that it's puts a wall up and we are depressed. Not at all. We are very, very happy. And Yusuf is also happy. Sometimes he gets, he thinks a lot, and he asks, but I'm very happy that he asked me question. If I can't answer it, I said, we could ask, we will find out. I will find out. I will not come up with my own answers to it. No.
Right. Well, so it's a wonderful book. I found it on Amazon and on Kindle. If for people wanting to purchase the book And for people wanting to learn more about you, get in contact with you about your coaching, where should they go for all of that?
Okay, so the book is on Amazon as a hard copy now too, and I have my website, which is helenrennervik.com. There they can contact me, or I also have on Facebook. I'm very new to all these things, but I had to be there because when the book, so my coach asked me, "Are you ready now?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" So I would like to start to do Facebook Lives there too for parents. So that's also on the back of the book. It's Helen Rennervik Coaching. And then I'm on Instagram too, Coaching with Helen. I am actually going to make a new brand where the book and separate from my coaching, although it's not separate, but just so I can have one standalone for the book and the coaching and the things that I want to grow there, because that's maybe something that I have strength in because I have gone through it. I'm not the best one, no, of course not, but it's just that it's a continuous learning for me too, and I want to grow with it, and I will grow with other patient. I don't know if you read in the beginning, so Fabian Bolin, who wrote the foreword to the book,
yes,
he was sick the same time, and he is very active, and he has got a platform called War on Cancer, and that's where everyone can get on that has any kind of cancer. It's global, and they're working really, really hard with that too. So that's something that we are trying to grow. Yeah.
Well, Helen, it's been a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you. And thank
we'll
you
link
for
to all of that in the show notes. We'll link to your website. We'll link to the book on Amazon so everyone can find it easily.
Yeah. And together we can do more.
Excellent. Wonderful.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Helen.